Chapter 779. In the eyes of many of SYG's senior management, what they had seen today was an absolute miracle. God said let there be light, and so there was light. Lu Chen said he would write a song for girl, and so he did. Although it was a work without lyrics, the quality was so high that it was hard to believe that it was composed in a few minutes. The melody of the song was very light, and the unique rhythm had a strong toxicity. Just hearing it once would make one hum a few lines. It had a magical power that made people listen to it again and again. These SYG executives were not idle people. Their appreciation of pop music was not bad, and some were even professionals. That was why they were so shocked. With this song, as long as it was matched with lyrics and choreography, it would not be a dream for girl to make a comeback. In the Korean pop music scene, there were many examples of people becoming famous overnight because of one song. It was not a myth for a few classic songs to support a popular girl group. Especially in the current situation where Korean pop music was highly homogenized and the audience was tired of it, they knew all too well the power of a good song. The girls of Girl looked at Lu Chen with stars in their eyes, each of them full of joy and admiration. The girls' love for this work came from the bottom of their hearts. The melody and rhythm hit their hearts, and they could not wait to try it out. Ever since their debut, they had been under a lot of pressure. The response to their debut single was mediocre. Faced with strong competitors, although they worked hard, they could not achieve success. At this moment, to them, Lu Chen was like an angel who had descended to the mortal world to save them from their suffering. The girls' burning gazes made Lu Chen feel a little overwhelmed. He coughed twice and said, "That's it for now. Get someone else to write the lyrics, and the arrangement needs to be perfected." Li Junhao hurriedly said, "Thank you so much. You've worked hard. I will get someone to draft the copyright transfer contract. Please rest assured." The president of SYG only had one thought in her mind, and that was to sign the contract as soon as possible. She would never forgive herself if she missed this song. Most importantly, with one song, there would naturally be a second song. With the support of a talented musical genius like Lu Chen, would girl be afraid of not being able to beat Kuro and Dawn Maiden? Therefore, she didn't care about the cost at all. No matter how much Lu Chen asked, she would agree unconditionally. Lu Chen smiled and said, "You can discuss the contract with Lu Shi." Li Junhao thought of something and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, what's the name of this song?" Although Lu Chen had asked SYG to add their own lyrics, Li Junhao still hoped that Lu Chen could give the work a name. This was very important. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Just call her G." G. Li Junhao's eyes lit up and he nodded thoughtfully. Very good title. Lu Chen smiled but said nothing. G meant surprise in Korean. In the dream world, this song, G, was originally one of the representative works of a very famous Korean girl group. It had been popular for a time and won many awards. It had extraordinary magic. The sky had darkened by the time the audition ended. At night, Li Junhao invited Lu Chen to a banquet at the famous Hanjiang Hotel. Girl and many of the higher-ups of SYG accompanied them and were very attentive. Lu Chen rarely drank, but he couldn't resist the enthusiasm of the girls and girl. He drank a bottle of traditional Korean wine, bamboo charcoal, and was a little tipsy in the end. Li Junhao also drank a few glasses of wine. She smiled and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, I think you're a little drunk. Let Inghui send you upstairs to rest. I've already booked a room here." As she spoke, she gave Song Inghui, who was sitting beside Lu Chen, a look. Song Inghui was the leader of Girl. Her overall quality was the best among the 7 girls. Her appearance wasn't top-notch, but her figure was outstanding, especially her pair of long legs. Seeing Li Junhao's hint, Song Inghui immediately understood and held on to Lu Chen's arm. Her bouncy breasts pressed tightly against his arm and said sweetly, "Teacher Lu Chen, let me send you upstairs." To be honest, such a youthful and beautiful girl with a soft voice and exotic charm was a great temptation for Lu Chen. Moreover, Li Junhao's hint was quite obvious. However, Lu Chen was not drunk. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your warm hospitality, President Li, but I won't be staying here tonight. My girlfriend is still waiting for me in the hotel." His tone was gentle, but his will was very firm. Li Jinhao was stunned, then smiled and said, "All right then, I'll get someone to send you back." Politely declining Li Jinhao's good intentions, and ignoring Song Yinghui's resentment, Lu Chen and his assistant took the car sent by SYG back to Hotel Shilla. This bunch of Koreans. In the car, Zhang Xiaofang, the assistant who had followed Lu Chen to Korea, said, "So many tricks." The Korean drinking culture was also very popular. The senior management of SYG were very good at persuading people to drink. If not for Zhang Xiaofang's help that night, Lu Chen would probably be lying on the floor. But what Zhang Xiaofang said was not just that. Lu Chen laughed involuntarily. He had long heard of the unspoken rules in the Korean entertainment industry, but he did not expect it to happen to him. It was just that Li Jinhao's honey trap was really playing with the wrong target. Unlike those artists who became unscrupulous after becoming famous, Lu Chen had always kept his bottom line in the huge entertainment industry. The more famous he was, the more careful he was with his words and actions. It was actually very easy for a person to fall into depravity. It was very difficult to stay clean in the entertainment industry that was filled with countless temptations, but he had his own persistence. Therefore, even if Chen Fei was not here in Korea, Lu Chen would not be tempted by Song Yinghui. Back in the room, Chen Fei was sitting in the living room chatting with Lu Shi. There were bags of various sizes on the carpet in the living room. It looked like they had gained a lot today. Seeing the drunken Lu Chen return, Chen Fei hurriedly got up to support him. Lu Shi said angrily, "Why did you drink so much? It stinks." Lu Chen smiled bitterly. "I didn't want to drink too much. The people from SYG were really too passionate. I really couldn't handle it. Luckily, Brother Zhang was here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come back tonight." He had a lingering fear just thinking about it. If he had been drunk and completely sinned, it would be hard to say what would have happened next. Of course, Li Jinhao did not have any ill intentions towards him, but her good intentions were even more unbearable. Chen Fei laughed. "Is it because you have a beautiful girl with you that you can't bear to come back?" Lu Chen laughed. "Hurry up and take a bath. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain." On the 8th of January, Lu Chen ended his trip to Korea and returned to Beijing with Chen Fei, Lu Shi, and the rest. Chapter 780. When Lu Chen returned to Beijing, the first snow of the new year had just fallen in the capital. The snow was so heavy that the flight from Seoul to Beijing was delayed for more than 5 hours. Therefore, when they arrived at Beijing International Airport, it was already past 11:00 in the evening. What surprised Lu Chen was that there were still a large number of fans in the terminal to pick him up when the flight was delayed for such a long time. Seeing Lu Chen and others coming out of the passenger passage, these fans immediately let out earth-shattering cheers. They held up various posters, support signs, flowers, gifts, and so on. The scene was quite amazing. For the current Lu Chen, it was normal to meet fans or reporters who came to pick him up at the airport. Because his popularity was so high, there was no need to arrange professional fans at all. There were still a lot of real fans to support him. It was said that the airline company specialized in selling the flight information of celebrity artists to the fan groups, so the fans could know the movements of their idols at any time and surround the airport. In this regard, Lu Chen had long been used to it. But today, it snowed for a day, the plane was delayed for such a long time, and so many fans waited for his return. It really made him very touched and even embarrassed. "Thank you." Lu Chen took the flowers and gifts from the hands of 2 female fans and smiled to express his gratitude. Several female fans who squeezed to the front were so excited that their faces were red. The people behind them tightly surrounded them, causing chaos at the scene. Fortunately, the airport arranged enough personnel to maintain order. According to the usual practice, Lu Chen should speed up and leave. The car to pick him up was already waiting outside. But today's situation was really special. He really couldn't leave the fans who had waited for him for such a long time, so he took the initiative to take the crowd to the side and signed autographs and took photos for these fans one by one. Of course, the fans were overjoyed and spontaneously lined up with good manners. Their hard waiting was finally not in vain. Not only could they get Lu Chen's autograph, but they also got Chen Fei's. It was a great deal. Lu Chen signed a fan's autograph and asked, "Now that the subway has stopped, how are you going to go back?" The fan replied, "My friend and I are going to take a taxi back." Take a taxi? Lu Chen could not help but frown. It was already very late, and the most convenient and fast subway was already out of service. There were definitely taxis at the airport, but it was probably very difficult to get one due to the snow, and there were so many fans. He immediately said to Lu Shi, "Sister, can you call and ask if you can get a few cars to send them back?" Lu Shi nodded and immediately called the bus. She helped Lu Chen manage the studio and Chenfei Media and built up a considerable network in the capital. This was naturally not a problem for her. It only took a few minutes for Lu Shi to contact a car. She relied on her relationship with Beijing television. When the fans heard that Lu Chen had specially arranged a bus for them to go back, there was no need to mention how considerate and moved they were. They posted photos in their respective blogs and circles of friends, and all of them were very happy. Do you have an idol that warms your heart? When other fans saw this, they all expressed their envy and jealousy. Some even said that they would rush to the airport immediately. After this torment, when Lu Chen and Chen Fei returned home, it was already past 1:00 in the morning. Both of them were exhausted to death. After a simple wash, they went to bed and slept until dawn. The next day, Lu Chen and Chen Fei rushed to the headquarters of Central TV together. The two of them were here to participate in the first official rehearsal of the 2018 Spring Festival Gala. Central TV's rehearsal was different from ordinary galas. Ordinary galas had loose requirements for the participating stars. Usually, the stars did not need to participate in the rehearsal, or only needed to participate once. However, Central TV was different. No matter how big the stars were, they had to participate in the official rehearsal to be selected for the Spring Festival Gala. Unless there was a special reason, they could not ask for leave. If they could not accept this rule, then they could forget about this stage that was watched by millions of people. In the past, the Spring Festival Gala was actually not so strict, especially when it came to Hong Kong and Taiwanese stars. However, in recent years, this rule had been implemented very well, and there had been stars who were kicked out because of this. For this year's Spring Festival Gala, Lu Chen and Chen Fei both had performances, so the first rehearsal was definitely not to be missed. It was not that the two of them valued the Spring Festival Gala very much, but there was no need to break the rules. Therefore, they still took it very seriously and rushed over more than an hour in advance. The Spring Festival Gala's rehearsal was held in Central TV's Broadcasting Studio 1. When the two of them entered, they went through multiple security checks. In order to prevent the surging social media and internet celebrities from entering the Spring Festival Gala's rehearsal site to secretly take pictures and leak the contents of the Spring Festival Gala, Central TV's confidentiality of the first rehearsal could be said to be airtight. All bags and mobile phones of the audience were not allowed inside, and there were also strict rules for reporters and entertainers. When the two of them appeared backstage in the broadcasting studio, it immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Recently, in terms of the limelight, no one in the domestic entertainment industry could compare to Lu Chen, especially since he had just defeated Taekwondo master Li Ziqing in South Korea. The media was abuzz and he was almost put on a pedestal. It really makes people not convinced. Lu Chen has the height, the appearance, the talent, the ability to write and fight, and the skill is extraordinary. He is simply the perfect big star. Whether it was out of sincerity or insincerity, regardless of whether they were friends or not, the celebrities who were already waiting backstage all greeted Lu Chen and Chen Fei with a smile or warmly. Among them, there were also friends of the two, such as Lu Gangsheng, Tan Hong, etc. In addition to these two evergreen trees in the industry, there were also many big stars and emerging artists. It could be said that the stars were shining. Lu Gangsheng, like Chen Fei, was participating in the Spring Festival Gala for the third time this year. He flew to Beijing a few days ago. Now that they saw Lu Chen, everyone was naturally happy to be reunited after a long time. Tan Hong had originally retired from the music industry, but because of the invitation of the great director, Chen Guozhi, he also came. However, he would not be appearing alone, but participating in a singing program with a group of stars. And the song for the chorus was written by Lu Chen. Tan Hong opened his arms and gave him a strong hug. He praised, "You have won glory for the country. Come to my house for dinner tonight. Your sister-in-law said that she wants to welcome a hero." Lu Chen laughed and said, "How can I be considered a hero? Thank you so much, sister-in-law." As the two of them were chatting and laughing, Chen Guozhi appeared backstage. The first official rehearsal for the Spring Festival Gala was about to begin. Chapter 781. According to previous year's practices, a Spring Festival Gala usually had 4.5 hours of content. And rehearsals lasted even longer. No matter how big the names were, even after they finished rehearsing, they could not leave immediately. This was because they still had to analyze and judge the effects of the program, so they often had to stay for more than half a day. Lunch was provided by Central TV. Whether it was celebrities, guest artists, extras, or staff, they all ate boxed lunches, and the quality of the lunches was the same. Of course, celebrities who were not used to eating boxed lunches could prepare their own meals, but basically no one would do that. Lu Chen and Chen Feier were no exception. They received their own boxed lunches during the lunch break. Even though Central TV's boxed lunches were the standard price of 58 yuan, there were countless people in the industry who wanted to eat this boxed lunches. Every year, celebrities, big or small, racked their brains to get in, but only a few succeeded. This was the first time Lu Chen had eaten a boxed lunchbox from Central TV. "All the meat is for you." Chen Feier picked out the beef from the lunchbox and put it into Lu Chen's lunchbox. "I weighed it this morning, and it's half a caddy heavier. I want to lose 1 caddy." Lu Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You still need to lose? Not eating meat is not good for your health." Chen Feier picked up the last piece of meat with his chopsticks and stuffed it into his mouth. "I know what I'm doing. Stop nagging." Lu Chen's mouth was stuffed with meat. He shook his head speechlessly. Then, he picked up his own radish strips and broccoli for Chen Feier. The two of them hid in a corner and were lovey-dovey. But the others who saw them felt suffocated, especially those single dogs, who were fed a big mouthful of dog food. Moreover, he kept on feeding them until someone stood up fearlessly. Cough, cough. A loud cough forced Lu Chen to stop his inhumane public display of affection. He turned his head and was almost blinded. What a big bald head. "Ah." Lu Chen quickly stood up and greeted politely, "Hello, Teacher Gao." There were 3 famous baldies in the entertainment industry. They were all big shots in their respective industries. One was a pop singer, one was a movie actor, and the last one was the skit artist in front of them, Gao Disheng. He had a big bald head, squinting eyes, a bulbous nose, thick lips. The way he smiled had a charm that made people laugh. This was a face that everyone in the country was very familiar with. It was an ugly face that had a unique personality. But Gao Disheng did not live up to the name of an artist because of other people's flattery, but because of the reputation he had accumulated in his more than 20 years of acting career. He was a senior who truly excelled in both virtue and skill. Disregarding everything else, just the Spring Festival Gala alone, he had participated in it 7 times. This year would be his 8th. Chen Feier did not dare to neglect this senior in the industry. He quickly put down the lunchbox and stood up to greet him. Gao Disheng smiled and said, "Take a seat. I'm just here to have a chat. Sorry for disturbing you." Lu Chen and Chen Feier were a little embarrassed. Lu Chen quickly said, "Not at all. We just finished eating." Gao Disheng sat down with a smile and said to him, "Actually, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. It's just that the timing was not right. Today, I finally got the chance." Gao Disheng took the initiative to find Lu Chen. He wanted to talk to Lu Chen about the skit script written by Lu Chen. At that time, the executive director of this year's Spring Festival Gala, Chen Guizhi, found Lu Chen and invited Lu Chen to participate in the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog. As a result, Lu Chen took out 2 original works and a skit script and threw them to the great director. Chen Guizhi originally expected Lu Chen to come up with a good program. He did not expect Lu Chen to come up with 3, and all of them were excellent, which made him unable to give them up. However, it was not easy for Chen Guizhi to put all 3 programs on the Spring Festival Gala. First of all, he did not have the final say in the Spring Festival Gala. He had to face all kinds of interests, so it was impossible for him to do as he pleased. But in the end, Chen Guizhi still eliminated the difficulties and pushed Lu Chen's works as the focus of the program. For this reason, he specially invited many big names to ensure the effect of the program. For example, Chen Guizhi gave the skit written by Lu Chen to Gao Disheng. The latter's image not only matched the setting of the characters in the script, but his acting skills were enough to crush a lot of his peers. It should be known that Lu Chen's skit had squeezed out another program of the same kind that had already been selected. No one said it openly, but there were a lot of people talking about it behind it. God knew how many pairs of eyes were watching it. Gao Disheng and Chen Guizhi had been friends for many years, so he understood the weight of it. Out of a serious and responsible attitude towards work, he took the initiative to talk to the original author, Lu Chen, during the lunch break. It sounded like a very normal thing. There was nothing to fuss about when actors and scriptwriters communicated. But in fact, many actors nowadays did not care about the author at all. You just had to write the script, and how you acted was up to me. There was no need for you to tell me what to do. That was the director's job. In fact, many celebrity artists did not even listen to the director's words and often acted on their own. Gao Disheng was a big name in the industry. When he appeared on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, Lu Chen was still running around naked. Moreover, no matter how famous Lu Chen was, they were not on the same level as him. He did not need to care about Lu Chen at all. But Gao Disheng used a very equal and even humble attitude to communicate with Lu Chen about the creative intention, plot idea, spiritual connotation, and so on of the work. Lu Chen naturally told him everything he knew. And when it came to analyzing the work, he felt that he was not as good as Gao Disheng. This made Lu Chen feel rather ashamed. After all, the source of his work was his memories from the dream world. The exchange between the two of them lasted for more than an hour until the staff assistant came over to remind him. Gao Disheng said to Lu Chen, "This is the best script I've received in the past 10 years. Lu Chen, I really hope that you can create a few more scripts. We're really lacking good scripts right now." Gao Disheng was speaking from the bottom of his heart. In recent years, the viewership ratings of Central TV's Spring Festival Gala had been declining year by year. The audience's evaluation of language shows was getting worse and worse, and he was feeling anxious about it. The script that Lu Chen had brought out really made Gao Disheng feel like he had finally met a good rain after a long drought. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Teacher Gao, I'll do my best." Gao Disheng smiled in relief. "Thank you." This word of thanks was not only for himself, but also for the entire skit industry. The afternoon rehearsal did not end until 4 p.m., but Lu Chen was not able to leave early, because a director from Central TV personally came over to invite him for a discussion. And the content of the discussion was about the martial arts movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, that Chinfei Media would start shooting after the Spring Festival. Chapter 782. Many people didn't know that CCTV also made movies. It had a professional film production department, shooting more than a dozen movies every year. Whether in terms of scale, strength, or output, it was not inferior to a large movie company. However, CCTV's movies were mainly documentaries, followed by self-produced dramas. They were not broadcasted in cinemas, but on their own movie channel. At the same time, they were sold overseas. In recent years, CCTV's film department began to set foot in the field of commercial movies. They had participated in the shooting and production of many commercial blockbusters and achieved quite good results. Of course, from the point of view of a commercial movie company, it was undoubtedly a good thing to be able to cooperate with CCTV. CCTV's strength was beyond doubt. Its publicity and promotion ability were unparalleled, and its production and shooting standards were among the best in the country. However, CCTV's brand was too big, and they were very picky. Not everyone was qualified to cooperate with them. Lu Chen had been in the film and television industry for a long time, so he naturally knew some inside stories. Therefore, when the director of CCTV's film production department, Dong Fanghao, personally came to him to discuss the cooperation of the smiling, proud wanderer, he was more or less a little surprised. Our department became independent at the end of last year. Dong Fanghao was in his 40s. He was handsome and well-dressed, a typical successful man. He didn't have much of the temperament of a person in the system. He was more like an elite in the business world. In response to Lu Chen's doubts, he smiled and explained, a new video company has been set up to engage in the shooting, production and promotion of movies. Although it is still under CCTV, it is responsible for its own profits and losses. Lu Chen was suddenly enlightened. Naturally, he was very clear about Dong Fanghao's purpose. New Video was like a son of CCTV's boss. No, to be more accurate, it was a grandson, and it was one of them. Originally, he had been raised in the big house with good food and drinks, but now he had set up his own company. It was definitely not a bad thing to set up an independent company. It meant that he would have more autonomy. However, although they were still related by blood, the boss did not care about his grandson's food and drink. In the future, the grandson would have to rely on himself. Dong Fanghao was also the general manager of New Video. He had a large number of people under him. How could he not worry? Under the circumstances that they couldn't completely rely on CCTV, New Video naturally couldn't do anything. Taking the initiative to find business opportunities and expand the market was their way of survival. Even so, the background of the new movie was something that no one could ignore. Lu Chen couldn't help but be interested. He thought for a while and said, Director Dong, I'm very happy to cooperate with New Video. But at present, the smiling, the proud swordsman already has many partners, so I'm afraid we need to sit down and discuss the specific cooperation plan. After Chinfei Media released the news that they were going to shoot the smiling, proud wanderer, many people came to their door. In addition to the existing partners, all the major domestic film companies and cinemas basically expressed their interest in cooperating with them. Not to mention the people in the circle, there were also a lot of people outside the circle waving money and breaking the threshold. Because of the great influence of the smiling, the proud martial artist in China, it had created a large number of fans of new wuxia novels. With the marketing and promotion of Chinfei Media, it had become a popular IP with great market potential. The most important thing was that Lu Chen and Chen Fei were both going to act in The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, and Chen Guoji was the director. With these three big shots, it would be hard for them to make a loss unless they made a mess. Has Chinfei Media ever done any unprofitable business? The answer was obviously no. Therefore, it was normal for New Video to want to get involved. Lu Chen also welcomed it. It didn't matter who he wanted to cooperate with. The key was whether it could bring profits. New Video had enough qualifications, but the premise was that they couldn't be too greedy. Lu Chen also had to take care of the interests of all sides. It had only been more than 3 years since his debut. Lu Chen had grown from a nobody in an underground house to a top star with more than 1 billion assets. In addition to the wealth of memories from the dream world, he also understood the principle of, a just cause enjoys abundant support, while an unjust cause finds little support. He was willing to give up the immediate benefits in exchange for long-term development. People who liked to eat alone were not welcomed anywhere. But knowing how to share benefits didn't mean that he didn't have his own persistence and bottom line. Lu Chen had always done well in this aspect. Dong Fanghao said seriously, of course. I came here today mainly to meet you, Mr. Lu. We will have many opportunities to cooperate in the future. Even if we don't succeed this time, there will be next time. Lu Chen smiled and said, Thank you for your understanding, Director Dong. The two looked at each other and smiled. Dong Fanghao stood up and was ready to leave because Lu Chen was here for rehearsal today. Lu Chen's expression changed. He wanted to say something, but he hesitated. He didn't expect Dong Fanghao to be so sensitive. He immediately smiled and asked, "Mr. Lu, what do you want to say?" He sat down again and said, "As long as I can help, I'm fine with it." Lu Chen was hesitating whether to say it or not. Seeing Dong Fanghao's attitude, he simply said it. "I have an idea." As he said this, he asked his assistant to bring a tablet and open the document stored in it for Dong Fanghao to see. Lu Chen's idea didn't come up for a long time. It appeared during his martial arts competition with Li Zhiqing in South Korea. That was to hold a large-scale casting event for the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The form of the casting event was based on the popular reality TV shows, and the selected targets were young people who had practiced martial arts, such as traditional martial arts, sanda, kickboxing, taekwondo, judo, etc. The purpose was to select the outstanding people from them to participate in the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, TV series, and the shooting and production of the future wuxia IP. Lu Chen's preparation for the wuxia IP plan began very early. The Lu family squad was one of the teams he created for this plan. However, the current number of members in the Lu family squad was not large. It was not enough to shoot a wuxia movie. If it was shooting a long TV series, it would be even worse. Therefore, the expansion of the Lu family class was imperative, and holding a casting event was undoubtedly the most convenient and fast way to select excellent talents. Originally, Lu Chen planned to cooperate with Beijing Television, but today he met Dong Fanghao. He wondered if he could cooperate with Central TV to produce this talent show. Because whether it was strength or influence, Central TV could easily crush Beijing Television. Because the movie was about to start shooting, he didn't leave too much time for this event, so he needed a strong partner to solve many problems. If Central TV was interested, then it would undoubtedly be the best choice. As for this movie casting activity, Lu Chen named its theme, "The Storms of the Eight Directions Will Meet in the Capital." Chapter 783. The Eight Storms Will Meet in the Capital. Dong Fanghao was instantly moved by the program plan that Lu Chen came up with. His current position is the director of CCTV Film Production Department and the general manager of New Video. His main business is film projects, but this does not mean that he is not familiar with the popular talent shows. On the contrary, Dong Fanghao is very clear that CCTV attaches great importance to variety shows at present. They have been brewing and preparing a number of variety entertainment brand programs to actively respond to the challenges from major local satellite TV stations. Today's CCTV is no longer the invincible and crushing ratings hegemon 20 years ago. Although no one can shake its position as the leader, it has been surpassed by the satellite TV stations in many aspects. For example, Shonan TV, Zhidong Satellite TV, Huhai Satellite TV, and even Beijing Television have their own competitive products to divide the market, mainly focusing on TV series and variety shows. The most typical example is undoubtedly Lu Chen's cooperation with Zhidong Satellite TV and Beijing Satellite TV on several TV series. In terms of ratings, CCTV's primetime TV series have been defeated. There is also the reality singing talent show, The Voice of China, whose ratings are also disdainful. With the help of the cooperation with Lu Chen, the two major satellite TV stations made a lot of money, especially Beijing Television. Many people came to CCTV and their voices were much rougher. It would be a lie to say that CCTV doesn't care about this and is not the least bit jealous. Now that Lu Chen has taken the initiative to seek cooperation with CCTV and has come up with a very operable talent show plan that will inevitably have a major impact, how can Dong Fanghao remain indifferent? Even though he wasn't in charge of this, it was more than enough for him to get the credit of recommending him. After a hurried glance at the document on the computer, Dong Fanghao immediately said, "I will call Director Zhao Gang over right away. He is the director of the program department of the Variety Channel." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Don't be so anxious, Director Dong. I will send this plan to you first, and then we will set a time to talk about it in detail. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow is fine." He is not afraid that the plan will be leaked, because this program plan is completely aimed at the smiling, proud wanderer. It is useless for others to copy it, and Dong Fanghao is not that stupid. Dong Fanghao was anxious. Can't we do it at night? Director Dong couldn't wait to finalize it on the spot to avoid any more problems. However, Lu Chen was very apologetic. I really don't have time tonight. I promised to go to Brother Tan Hong's house for a gathering, so. Of course, Dong Fanghao couldn't force him, so he rescheduled the appointment to tomorrow. The afternoon rehearsal lasted until 5 p.m. before it ended. Although Central TV had given out buffet vouchers, other than the extras and staff, basically no one would be greedy for this meal. Lu Chen and Chen Fei were no exception. The two of them went to Tan Hong's house to try Song Wanliu's cooking. After Tan Hong retired from the music industry, Lu Chen became even more familiar with him. It was not the first time that he had been a guest at his home. He was also very familiar with Tan Hong's wife and daughter. There were not only two guests, but Lu Gangxing was also there. Lu Gangxing and Tan Hong have known each other for many years. Although one is in Xiangjiang and the other is in Beijing, and it is rare for them to bump into each other every 2 to 3 years, Lu Gangxing will always get together with Tan Hong to chat whenever he is in Beijing. This time, Lu Gangxing came to Beijing for the Spring Festival Gala rehearsal, so he had to visit a few old friends. When they arrived at Tan Hong's house, Song Wanlu had already prepared the meal. Everyone is friends, so there is no need for formalities. Soon, they sat down to eat and drink, and the atmosphere was very lively. After the family dinner, Chen Fei helped Song Wanlu clear the dishes, while Tan Hong, Lu Chen, and Lu Gangxing sat in the living room, drinking tea and chatting. The three of them inevitably talked about Lu Chen's recent trip to Korea. Even a person like Tan Hong, who has a mild personality, was full of praise for Lu Chen's victory over Li Zhicheng. Lu Gangxing laughed and said, I also watched the live broadcast. Young Chen is indeed very good. Even my two bodyguards are very impressed, saying that they are no match for you at all. The bodyguards that Lu Gangxing hired were naturally not ordinary people. To be able to convince them, of course, it was because of his ability. Lu Chen said a few humble words, and then talked about the upcoming movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, as well as preparing for the casting of this movie. Speaking of this, Lu Gangxing really had something to say. I don't care about your casting, but the role of Xiang Wendian belongs to me. Lu Gangxing's role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was something that was confirmed a long time ago, but in terms of the role, this king of Xiangjiang was still uncertain at that time. There were two roles that he liked, namely Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian. Now, he finally made a decision. With Lu Gangxing's ability and fame, if he wanted to make a movie, a lot of movie companies would definitely kneel down and give him the script for him to choose. He would definitely be the absolute leading role. And Lu Gangxing was willing to play a supporting role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. In addition to the factor of his friendship with Lu Chen, the most important factor was that he was interested in the script and was looking forward to new challenges in acting. Lu Chen laughed and said, of course, no problem. He had already kept the two roles of Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian, waiting for Lu Gangxing's decision. Although the two supporting roles didn't have many scenes, with Lu Gangxing's participation, the box office could at least increase by 100 million. Lu Gangxing still felt it was a pity. Actually, Lu Jingfeng is not bad. Lu Chen thought of something and immediately said to Tan Hong, Brother Tan, why don't you play Lu Jingfeng? Tan Hong looked confused. Ah. After a while, he understood and shook his head. You mean you want me to act? Then I really can't. Tan Hong had been famous in the pop music industry for many years. Except for a lot of music videos, he really hadn't acted in any serious movies, let alone a big commercial production like The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, so he instinctively refused. But Lu Gangxing praised, good, Tan Sheng is very suitable to play Lu Jingfeng, I support him. Lu Chen encouraged, there's nothing wrong with it. There aren't many scenes. It's not a big deal to shoot a few more times. Tan Hong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When he was about to insist on refusing, Song Wanlu came over with Chen Fei, and asked curiously, what are you talking about? What is it? Lu Chen smiled and said, sister-in-law, we are talking about making a movie. I want Brother Tan to play a role. Chen Fei's eyes suddenly lit up. That's great. Lu Chen didn't give Tan Hong a chance to refuse. He pulled Chen Fei to sit down, took out his mobile phone and handed it to Song Wanlu, sister-in-law, take a photo of us, I'll announce the news first. 4 people, Lu Chen, Chen Fei, Lu Gangsheng and Tan Hong, respectively represented 4 roles, Ling Hu Chong, Ren Yingying, Xiang Wendian and Lu Jingfeng. For real big shots, this was definitely a very special and very interesting group photo. Chapter 784. Few stars and artists in the world didn't use blogs. Now it was the age of the internet. The number of netizens was unprecedented, and basically included the corresponding people in the entertainment industry. Therefore, even very unique stars would follow the trend and open a blog. Even if they didn't use it much, it was very good as a publicity platform. Many stars and artists used their blogs to great effect. Not only did they have a special team to manage their blogs, but they also liked to refresh their blogs 10 times a day. They even took a few pictures of their meals and shoes to show the world. In contrast, as the most popular star in the domestic entertainment industry, Lu Chen's frequency of posting on his blog is not high. He doesn't hype, fight, or sell advertisements. In addition to his daily show of affection and dog food, he only interacts with his friends in the circle and posts some interesting photos. As the saying goes, the rarer something is, the greater its value. It was precisely because he didn't post often and had hundreds of millions of fans that his blog posts attracted a lot of attention. This group photo of the 4 people in Tan Hong's house was posted on Lu Chen's personal blog at 8:15 p.m. At 9 p.m., it reached the top of the hot list on the homepage of Waves's blog. The number of reposts and comments both exceeded 1 million, setting a record for Waves's blog. Lu Chen, Chen Fei, Lu Gangsheng, and Tan Hong represented different levels and histories of the Chinese music industry. The 4 of them stood at the top of the music industry, and their album sales combined were absolutely amazing. However, the most interesting thing was that the photo of the 4 had nothing to do with pop music, but a movie that hadn't started yet. The name of the movie was The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. Of course, the most excited were the martial arts fans cultivated by The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. It had been 1 or 2 years since The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was first published. During this period, it had been reprinted and republished many times. It had been on the sales list of Xinhua Publishing Company. At present, it had even been translated into many languages and published in many countries in Southeast Asia. It had considerable influence. Of course, the domestic martial arts fans were the most. They had long been looking forward to The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer movie and TV series. Naturally, the reaction to this special photo was the strongest. Lu Gangsheng is playing Xiang Wendian. That's great. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Tan Hong to have a cameo role. Whose house is this? Wow, Chen Fei is so beautiful. Don't say anything else, just hurry up and start shooting. When the time comes, I'll contribute 2 movie tickets. I'll contribute 5, but that was not the end. 2 hours after the photo was posted, Lu Chen posted a new blog post. This blog post was officially leaked. He said that after the new year, he would start a nationwide audition for actors for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and make a talent show to select the best talents to participate in the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. At the same time, he added the basic requirements for participating in the election. This blog post was even more sensational than the previous one because it provoked the nerves of countless people. I want to sign up. I just want to ask, is it too late to learn martial arts now? Those who have no strength in their limbs expressed their great regret. The storms of the 8 directions will gather in the capital? Does it mean that the qualifiers will be held in Beijing? I also want to act. Many people had a dream of becoming a star. In most people's eyes, it was easier to be an actor than a singer, and it was easier to be famous to act than to sing, the latter required a good voice or good looks. Therefore, there were many people applying for film academies every year. Every major film and television studios were full of people pursuing their dream of becoming a star. In fact, the road of an actor was more difficult than the road of a singer, and the competition was more intense. But to stand under the spotlight and appear on the big screen was a strong temptation to countless people. It's just that for them, the biggest problem is that there is no way or opportunity. But now Lu Chen's movie actually wants to audition actors. Even if there are all kinds of restrictions and requirements, many people who meet or don't meet the conditions and are interested in this area are all excited. Not to mention ordinary people, even some second or third-rate artists in the circle half-jokingly or half-seriously expressed their desire to participate in the talent show. These artistes knew Lu Chen's capability too well. All the projects he participated in were extremely profitable. Those who were involved in the projects all benefited a lot. Some even became famous overnight. So even if they were to play a small supporting role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, it was still an extremely good thing. Not to mention that the movie had already booked 4 real big names. It was simply a feast. Of course, Lu Chen sent out these 2 blog posts on purpose, but the influence caused by it actually exceeded his expectations. After a short period of fermentation, it quickly caused a sensation inside and outside the circle, and made countless people ready to make a move. To be continued. As a result, the next morning, while Lu Chen was still asleep, he was woken up by the phone ringing next to his pillow. He opened his eyes in a daze and took out his cell phone to see that it was only 7:00. The sky outside was not fully bright yet. The number was a little familiar, but it was not in his contact list. Who was it? Lu Chen was a little puzzled as he pressed the call button. Hello? A deep voice came from the phone. Teacher Lu Chen, I'm really sorry to disturb you. I'm Chen Qi from Beijing television station. Lu Chen originally thought that someone had made a mistake, but he did not expect it to be the deputy director of Beijing television station, Chen Qi. He quickly said, Hello, Director Chen. What's the matter? Lu Chen had a good relationship with Chen Qi, but it was limited to work, so the latter was not on his list of relatives and friends. However, with Chen Qi's connections, it was not strange for him to know his private cell phone number. Of course, normally, Chen Qi would not suddenly call him early in the morning for no reason. In fact, Lu Chen had already guessed it. Sure enough, Chen Qi laughed and said, Is it convenient to have breakfast together? It's my treat. The deputy director of Beijing television personally called to invite him to breakfast. He was definitely giving him a lot of face. However, Lu Chen said with a wry smile, Director Chen, let me treat you to breakfast, but I'm afraid you will be disappointed. What kind of person was Chen Qi? He immediately reacted. You know. You didn't give it to Zhejiang television, did you? Of course not Zhejiang television. Lu Chen said with a smile, It's Central TV. Chen Qi was speechless. If it was Zhejiang television, he could communicate with Lu Chen confidently, but if it was Central TV, he really could not. This breakfast was still treated to by Chen Qi. After breakfast, the people from Central TV contacted Lu Chen. And the impact of the audition for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had just begun. Chapter 785. Xiangnan, Hengyang. Before the sun rose in the morning, Nanyue Hengshan Neo Martial Arts School's internal broadcast system started on time. Exciting music instantly rang throughout the school, waking up the teachers and students from their dreams. In room 317 of the A3 dormitory, Meng Hu rubbed his sleepy eyes, lifted his warm blanket, and got up to get dressed. He had to move quickly, or else it would be troublesome if the toilet was occupied by someone else. He would have to run to a public toilet far away, and if he missed his morning exercise, the consequences would be dire. Nanyue Hengshan Neo Martial Arts School was the most famous professional martial arts school in Xiangnan. It had a history of more than 30 years and had nearly 10,000 teachers and students. Although it was a private school, it was larger than many public high schools or technical secondary schools. Unlike ordinary high schools and technical secondary schools, Hengshan Martial Arts School implemented a closed military management. All students lived on campus, not even on Saturdays or Sundays. Their basic necessities, food, lodging, and entertainment were all handled on campus. It was very strict. It was precisely because of its strictness that many parents sent their children who could no longer be controlled to this school for life re-education. Hengshan Martial Arts School's graduates had good prospects. Some joined the army, some entered the police academy or university, some became security guards, some became fitness trainers, and some even became professional athletes. At the very least, they could build a strong physique after 3 years. Meng Hu came from the old rural area of Gannan province. His family was poor, and his grades in school were very average. Therefore, he wanted to learn something and work early to reduce the burden on his family. Someone from his village had studied in Hengshan Martial Arts School for 3 years and was now the captain of a security company with a monthly salary of more than 10,000. This villager had a good relationship with Meng Hu's family. He promised Meng Hu that as long as he graduated from Hengshan Martial Arts School, he would recommend him to this company. The starting salary would be at least 3,000. Meng Hu's family was very grateful to this. They took out all their savings to support Meng Hu in Hengshan Martial Arts School. Hengshan Martial Arts School's tuition was quite high, but the entry requirements were very low. As long as one reached the age of enrollment and was healthy, they could basically get in. Meng Hu knew that this opportunity did not come easily. Therefore, he studied very hard in the 2 years he had been in the school. As a result, he improved very quickly. His MMA skills were top-notch among his peers. He had also matured a lot. Originally, Meng Hu thought that his life would be like this. After 3 years, he would graduate from Mount Heng Martial Arts School and enter the security company of his hometown to work. He would first work as a small security guard to accumulate experience and slowly rise to the position of vice captain, and if he was lucky enough, becoming a supervisor or even a manager would not be a dream. Now that he had started earning his salary, he had to help his younger siblings. His younger siblings' academic performance was much better than Meng Hu's, and they would definitely go to university in the future. His family was also in debt because of him. After paying off his debt and supporting his younger brother and sister to go to college, only then could he think about his own life. Perhaps there would be a girl who was not so pretty but kind who would be willing to follow him. The two of them would work hard to save money, get married, have children, and build a house. But now, Meng Hu had a new idea. This thought was so strong that it was like a wildfire burning in his young heart, causing him to be unable to sleep well the whole night. There was always a kind of unwillingness and impulse beating along with his heart. The martial arts school students' morning exercise ended at 7:45 a.m. After the morning exercise, it was a 30-minute break for breakfast. After breakfast, it was time for the morning's cultural class. Tiger. In the cafeteria, Meng Hu had just gotten his meal when a student waved at him and greeted him. Meng Hu's heart instantly tightened. He looked around instinctively, then quickly walked over with his plate. The other person was his best friend in the martial arts school, Li Dongyang. There were a few other people sitting with Li Dongyang, including 2 of Meng Hu's dormitory classmates. They left a seat for Meng Hu. Everyone was very vigilant. It felt like they were meeting up with an underground gang in a movie. Li Dongyang secretly took out his phone from his underwear pocket. He lowered his voice and said, "All of you, keep an eye on it. The results should be out today. I hope all of us can pass." Everyone nodded in unison, trying their best to act as if nothing had happened. However, all of their attention was on Li Dongyang. The martial arts school did not allow the use of mobile phones. If they needed to communicate with the outside world, they could only use landlines. However, there were always some clever students who could think of ways to hide from the school's inspection and surreptitiously use their mobile phones to go online. What Li Dongyang was going to do now was definitely a big deal for them. The student cafeteria and the teacher's cafeteria were separate, so it was relatively safer here. At least, they would not encounter any sudden inspections. However, the 30-minute breakfast time was very limited, so Li Dongyang had to speed up. His fingers were flying as he tapped on the screen and opened the registered email. "There's a result," after a while, Li Dongyang said softly. His eyes revealed a look of excitement. The student sitting next to him almost dropped the chopsticks in his hand. Meng Hu could not help but swallow his saliva. It was supposed to be a very short time, but it felt like an eternity. Li Dongyang said in a hoarse voice, "Century Egg, UF** King passed." Century Egg sat opposite Meng Hu. When he heard this, he jumped up immediately. Fortunately, Meng Hu was quick enough to hold him back. Otherwise, this brat would have jumped straight to the sky. Even so, it still attracted a lot of curious gazes. Li Dongyang immediately put away his phone vigilantly. He picked up his steamed bun and gnawed on it. He looked at Century Egg fiercely. Century Egg chuckled and scratched his head embarrassedly. When he felt that no one was paying attention to him, Li Dongyang took out his phone again and continued checking. "Third bro, UF** King passed too. Little Lin, you didn't pass. Chen Zi, congratulations." Meng Hu listened to the familiar nicknames. He was extremely nervous, and his face was flushed. "Tiger, you passed too." His clenched fists suddenly loosened, and then he clenched them again. Although he had some confidence, when he heard the news that he passed, it still made this 18-year-old boy extremely excited. "I passed, I'm going to the capital." Meng Hu passed the online audition of the big movie actor talent show, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, with the theme of wind and rain gathering in the capital. Among the 7 people sitting with Li Dongyang, 5 of them actually passed the online audition. This meant that they were qualified to go to the capital to participate in the live audition of the show. It was possible for them to become an actor in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Chapter 786. The news of the audition for The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was first announced by Lu Chen on his personal blog, and then confirmed by the official blog of Chen Fei Media. They also announced the audition criteria and rules. Any adult between the ages of 18 to 35, regardless of gender, as long as they were healthy and had a basic foundation, such as learning traditional martial arts, sanda, taekwondo, judo, kickboxing, and so on, could sign up for the competition. The initial audition used the online registration method. Applicants needed to fill in their basic personal information and attach a short video that could prove that they had learned martial arts. The deadline for the audition was January 25th, and the results of the audition would be announced on January 28th. All the people who passed the audition had to come to the capital on February 25th to participate in the program recording that would officially start on March 1st. A group of outstanding people would be selected to participate in the filming of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. Chen Fei Media further revealed that the talent show, Wind and Rain Gathering in the Capital, had been confirmed to cooperate with the Central Television Variety Channel, so the contestants would definitely be able to appear on the stage of the Central Television Variety Channel. In addition, Chen Fei Media would also be responsible for the travel expenses of all the contestants, as well as their accommodation during the recording of the program. They would also be given different rewards according to the ranking, and even have the opportunity to sign with Chen Fei Media. Once the news was announced, it immediately caused a great sensation. The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, the Central Television Variety Channel, Chen Fei Media, Lu Chen. Any one of these keywords was enough to attract people's attention. Now that they were all gathered together, it was hard for people to move their eyes away. When Meng Hu got the news, it was only a few days before the online audition registration deadline. The main reason was that the management of the martial arts school was too strict, so they could only watch the TV news for half an hour at night. However, the martial arts school was not a military-restricted area, so it could not be completely isolated from the world. Therefore, the news still spread and was known by many students. It was already surging. Last year, in the library of Hangyang Martial Arts School, the most borrowed book was The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. Because of the special theme of this martial arts novel, it was included in the list of books by the school. As a result, it became the most popular reading material among the students. Many students were fascinated by it. Because of the shortage of books, there were a lot of copies of the novel, which were circulated among the students. Therefore, in Hengyang Martial Arts School, the original work of the smiling, the proud wanderer had a great influence. The students were all hot-blooded teenagers, and they were easily influenced by the martial arts in the book. However, the world in the book was ultimately illusory and unreal. Just like the popular online novels nowadays, people mainly used it to relieve their worries. But now, a chance suddenly appeared in front of them, saying that they could become actors in the smiling, proud wanderer. It was very tempting to them. Meng, who had also watched the smiling, proud wanderer. He did not have any dream of becoming a star, but when such an opportunity was placed in front of him, the desire in his heart spread like wild weeds. Now, he actually passed the online selection. Meng, who was not the only one who passed the online selection. There were 4 other people who were equally lucky. Those who failed were naturally disappointed and sad, but the winners could not suppress the excitement in their hearts. Tiger, Li Dongyang happily said, "Let's go to the capital together after the new year." He and Meng, who were both from Gan province, and their hometowns were only about 100 kilometers away from each other. They were really old cousins, so they became good friends in the martial arts school. He also passed the online selection. The selection criteria of the smiling, proud wanderer was actually very advantageous for martial arts school students like them, because they met all the requirements, and could easily crush ordinary people in many aspects. That was why they passed so many rounds. Of course, the online selection was relatively easy. If they went to the capital to participate in the audition, there would definitely be a large number of people rejected. The talent show would definitely select the best of the best. But for these 18 and 19-year-old teenagers, there was no such thing as failure in their minds. Even if they knew the chances were slim, it was totally worth it to go to the capital for free. Unexpectedly, Meng Hu shook his head and said, "No, I plan to go to the capital the day after tomorrow when the winter break begins." Everyone was shocked. Li Dongyang could not help but open his eyes wide. The official audition will only start on the 1st of March. "Where are you going to stay now? Aren't you going home for the new year?" He suspected that Meng Hu was so excited that he was talking nonsense. In fact, at this moment, Meng Hu was very calm. He said, "I've thought about it. It's best to buy a high-speed train ticket to the capital now. It will be very difficult to buy a ticket after the new year. If there is any delay, the spring festival had already begun." As the major colleges and universities began their winter break, the domestic traffic would inevitably usher in a new wave of peak. Chapter 787. Beijing, Mesa Shopping Mall. This large shopping mall, located in the bustling area of Beijing's Second Ring Road, had just opened for business before the arrival of the new year. It had 7 floors, more than 30,000 square meters of operating area, and gathered a large number of international and domestic famous brands. Naturally, it had become the new benchmark in Beijing's business circle. As the Spring Festival approached, countless people who worked or studied in Beijing had left the metropolis. The originally bustling streets had become much emptier. The usual traffic jams from the Second Ring Road to the Fifth Ring Road had quietly disappeared. Even the capital's sky had become a lot bluer. But not all places became deserted. The newly opened Mesa Shopping Mall ushered in the peak before the Spring Festival. A large number of customers poured into it, buying the new era of New Year goods with extravagant spending: clothes, leather bags, perfume, cosmetics, gold and silver jewelry, imported food, as if it didn't cost money. Even Fang Yun, who came here for the first time, was infected by the almost fanatical shopping atmosphere in the mall. She couldn't help but be extravagant, buying 2 sets of expensive designer clothes and a handbag. A few years ago, she was not willing to spend money on new clothes at all, because the new year was the most difficult time. She owed so many debts, and the word New Year was attached to too heavy a meaning. Since Lu Chen became famous, everything should have changed. The Lu family, who had lost their pillar of support, not only returned to their old life, but also became better than before. The platinum card in the Gucci handbag that Fang Yun had just bought contained 5 million yuan that Lu Chen had deposited. However, her son's filial piety was not the reason why she was happy. What she was really happy about was that at this moment, there were 2 daughters and a future daughter-in-law accompanying her. 2 days ago, Fang Yun came to Beijing with Lu Shui, who had just started her winter vacation. Because this year's spring festival, Lu Chen and Chen Fei both had to participate in the CCTV Spring Festival Gala, they would not be able to go home for the new year, so Fang Yun came by herself. In addition to the reason for the family reunion, there was also the reason that the new year in their hometown in Binhai could not be quiet. Lu Chen's reputation was getting bigger and bigger, and there were always a lot of messy people who came to visit during the new year. Some of them wanted to claim connections with relatives, some wanted to borrow money, some wanted to become singers and actresses, and some wanted to introduce jobs for their children. Back when the Lus were at their peak, Fang Yun didn't even know that she had so many relatives and old friends. It really annoyed her so much that she came to the capital to hide in peace. Fang Yun and Lu Shui arrived in the capital. She took time out of her busy schedule to accompany her mother. Of course, Chen Fei didn't want to lose face. She turned down several events and specially brought her future mother-in-law to the mall for shopping. "Auntie, are you tired?" Chen Fei held Fang Yun's arm and said with concern, "Let's go to the tea room on the 5th floor to rest." Fang Yun nodded with a smile and said, "Okay, I'll listen to your arrangement." She couldn't be more satisfied with this future daughter-in-law. The only thing she cared about now was when she and Lu Chen would get married and have children. At that time, she could retire with a peace of mind and take care of her grandchildren. Chen Fei said with a smile, "Then let's go up." As she spoke, she suddenly felt something strange. She couldn't help but turn her head to look to the right. In the crowd not far away, a man in a black jacket was holding a SLR camera and taking pictures of her. Seeing Chen Fei's gaze, the man desperately pressed the shutter and took more than a dozen photos in a row. Then he quickly turned around and disappeared. Chen Fei shook her head helplessly. These paparazzi were really everywhere. Today, because she was going to accompany Fang Yun to go shopping, she didn't disguise herself. As a result, she was followed and photographed. Fang Yun didn't understand. Seeing that Chen Fei's expression was a little strange, she quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Chen Fei immediately smiled and said, "Nothing. Let's go." She wouldn't let such a small thing disturb the mood of herself and her future mother-in-law. 2 hours later, Waves Blog's well-known self-media blogger, Entertainment Gossip, released more than a dozen secretly taken photos with the title, "Chen Fei appears at Mesa Plaza to accompany future mother-in-law shopping." Among them, the most eye-catching was the photo of Chen Fei, holding Fang Yun's arm and smiling. It immediately caused a lot of response on the blog. Many bloggers have reposted it, attracting a large number of comments from fans. "What a warm picture. Is this Lu Chen's mother? She looks so young. My Chen's mother must have been a great beauty when she was young. My Chen is so handsome. Sure enough, it's in her genes. Hey, who's that little beauty next to her? That's my Chen's sister. I've seen Lu Chen's family photos. Do you think my Chen and my Fei's wedding is near?" It's very likely. As everyone talked, they soon went astray. Many people believed that Lu Chen and Chen Fei had entered the stage of talking about marriage. Lu Chen's mother must have come to Beijing to prepare for the wedding. There were also people who said with certainty that Lu Chen and Chen Fei had already gotten a marriage certificate, but it was hidden from everyone. Therefore, Fang Yun was not a future mother-in-law at all. She was a real mother-in-law. What was even more outrageous was that someone revealed on the blog that Chen Fei was pregnant and would get married after the new year. She appeared at Mesa Plaza with her mother-in-law's family to buy baby supplies. Logically speaking, this kind of completely groundless rumor should not be believed by many people. However, things in the world were just that strange. Many people really believed it and ran to Lu Chen and Chen Fei's blogs to congratulate them. Then, more and more people believed it to be true. In the afternoon, the keyword, Chen Fei is pregnant, actually appeared on the hot search list on the home page of Waves. When Lu Chen answered the phone in the swimming complex and heard the congratulatory call, he was completely confused. He wondered if the other party was playing an April Fool's joke on him. "Who did you hear it from?" "Haha." Lin Jijia's hearty laughter came from the phone. "Don't you know? It's going crazy on the internet. Everyone is saying that you and Fei are getting married because of the baby. Your mother is accompanying her to buy baby supplies at Mesa Plaza." Lu Chen's face turned into a big, awkward character. "I'm going to faint." Lin Jijia laughed and said, "I think it's impossible. The movie you two are starring in is about to start filming. How could you get pregnant at this time, unless, cough cough. But everyone is very concerned about the two of you, haha." After ending the call with Lin Jijia, Lu Chen shook his head speechlessly and quickly called Chen Fei. Chen Fei already knew about it. She was arranging the public relations department to refute the rumor. Lu Chen was relieved and returned his attention to the swimming complex. There was a very important test going on here. Chapter 788. The swimming pool was built in the 1990s. At that time, it was the largest and most well-equipped swimming pool in the capital, and it had many water entertainment facilities. Therefore, it became a place of childhood memories for many people in the capital. But now, the swimming pool was undoubtedly outdated. Last year, the state allocated funds to renovate it. The swimming pool and various facilities in the main pool were renovated and upgraded. Finally, it kept up with the trend. Since 5 days ago, the main swimming pool had been closed to the public. A large number of equipment had been moved into the swimming pool, and a mobile castle had been built on the thermostatic swimming pool. This would become the recording site for the audition of The Smiling, Proud Martial World. All the contestants would challenge 7 difficulties in the swimming pool, and then the best would be selected to enter the knockout stage. Today, Lu Chen came to the site to inspect the progress of the project. Because the creative ideas of this talent show were all provided by Lu Chen, and the rules were also made by him. In order to ensure the effect of the show, even the sketches of the equipment were drawn by him. First of all, 500 qualified contestants would be selected from the online applicants, and then they would come to the capital for the water challenge. The challenges included flying across the pontoon bridge, thrilling at every step, brave against the current, overturning rivers and seas, jumping over the Dragon Gate, taking a sharp turn down, and climbing the peak. Each challenge was more difficult than the previous one. After 2 days of installation and debugging, the equipment for the first 4 challenges were basically in place. Because the equipment for the last 3 challenges were relatively complicated, the manufacturers were still working overtime to make them. It would take at least another week. In fact, this was already very difficult. This was because the water challenge was an original design, and there were no precedents to follow. All the equipment was specially ordered from the largest amusement equipment manufacturer in Beijing. Since it happened to be during the Chinese New Year, they had to pay a high price to ensure the progress. Moreover, the installation and debugging were not smooth. If there were any problems, they had to be solved on the spot. They even had to reassemble or make accessories. Therefore, Lu Chen had to spend a lot of energy on it. Therefore, he had no time to pay attention to the boring rumors on the internet. When one reached the level of Lu Chen and Chen Fei, their every move might fall into the eyes of others. Paparazzi would follow them and secretly take pictures of their daily trips, adding to the entertainment news. Unless it was malicious slander that affected the company's reputation, the company's public relations department would handle it appropriately. Although the facilities could not be perfect due to time constraints, it was no problem as a tool to measure the ability of the contestants. The 7 levels had corresponding requirements for the contestants' physical fitness and responsiveness. It was easy for ordinary people to pass 1 or 2 levels, but it was not easy to pass 3 or 4 levels. The later levels were even more difficult. If they could break through all the levels, they would definitely be excellent talents worthy of training. After receiving Lu Chen's instructions, Wan Yong immediately called out, "Li Xiaoguang, you go up and try first." "Okay." A young man standing on the edge of the pool answered and quickly ran to the starting platform to move his hands and feet to warm up. He was also a member of the Liu family squad and came to the swimming pool as a tester today. Beep as the whistle sounded, all the equipment that had been set up and installed was activated at the same time. The movable parts, including soft leather, moved up and down or began to rotate under the drive of the safety and waterproof motor, and a stream of water sprayed out. After warming up, Li Xiaoguang took a step and jumped onto the air cushion floating on the water. He strode along the pontoon bridge composed of short and narrow air cushions, and in the blink of an eye, he broke through the first level. His neat performance won bursts of applause from the onlookers at the scene. Chapter 789. Lu Chen's team was created by Lu Chen. At present, there were more than 20 official members, all of whom were signed to Chenfei Media. It could be called Lu Chen's important team. Although the number was small, Lu Chen's investment in this team was not low at all. The salary of the Liu family team members was higher than that of ordinary white-collar workers in Beijing, and they received a lot of subsidies during the filming period. Moreover, Lu Chen often trained with the Liu family team. The team's cohesion was very high, and their work performance was excellent. Li Xiaoguang was the youngest member of the Liu family team. He had just retired from the army last year, but his skills were very good. He also played a small supporting role in You from the Star, and was highly regarded by Wan Yong. Therefore, for this test challenge, Wan Yong sent him first, and Li Xiaoguang did not disappoint Wan Yong's expectations. He cleanly passed 2 levels in less than 30 seconds. According to the rules of the challenge, the time to pass was limited, and it was a bonus. Naturally, the faster, the better. Li Xiaoguang's results were undoubtedly very good. However, the difficulty of the third stage, torrential rush, suddenly increased, and Li Xiaoguang was a little impatient. There were several times when he was almost washed into the pool by the jet of water. He completely relied on his extraordinary skills to adjust himself. The thrilling scene caused the onlookers to exclaim and gasp in surprise. At the scene of the swimming pool, in addition to the factory personnel who installed the equipment, there were many staff members of the swimming pool. Most of them were here to watch the fun or to see the stars. Of course, the latter was more common. But now everyone's attention was focused on Li Xiaoguang, to see if he could pass the 4th level. Under everyone's gaze, Li Xiaoguang learned the previous lesson and did not dare to underestimate and advance. He steadily passed through the more difficult overturning rivers and seas, and finally jumped onto the floating valve. It took a total of 5 minutes and 27 seconds to pass the 4 levels. After successfully passing the level, he excitedly waved his fist, which attracted bursts of applause from the audience. Manager Zhang smiled and said to Lu Chen, "This young man is really good. If I were to go up, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to pass the 1st level." Lu Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Well, let's try someone else. Since it was a test, the test sample should be more comprehensive." Li Xiaoguang was an elite member of the Liu family team. His performance could only be used as a basis for equipment debugging. According to his requirements, the difficulty of the challenge could be adjusted. If ordinary people could pass the 4th level, then it should be a little more difficult. After all, there were many people participating in the official audition. As soon as Chen made the request, someone volunteered, and it was the swimming pool staff. The swimming pool originally had water entertainment programs, but the creative form of the grand challenge was undoubtedly very new to them, and it looked very fun, so there were many people who were eager to give it a try. Of course, Lu Chen agreed. The equipment was able to be installed so quickly. In addition to the strength of the custom-made manufacturer, it was also indispensable to the strong support of the natatorium. Not only needed the swimming pool, but also needed to help. During the swimming pool, the Chen had also needed the swimming pool. But he also needed to help, the swimming pool had needed. Zhang's Zhou Chen's SS the swimming pool. In addition, Lu Chen could also see the swimming pool's intention. But it was not a big deal. If the swimming pool needed it, all the equipment could be sold to them after the program was recorded. It was a win-win situation. With Lu Chen's approval, the natatorium immediately sent 2 staff members, a man and a woman, to change into swimsuits and go into battle. Moreover, they were carefully selected handsome men and beautiful women. This is not surprising. In addition to Lu Chen being present for the equipment debugging, the CCTV variety channel has also sent personnel to track and shoot materials on the scene. The natatorium naturally has to take the opportunity to show its face and promote the swimming pool. For them, this cooperation with Chinfei Media and CCTV variety channel was like a big pie falling from the sky, and they really valued it. As a result, 2 temporary contestants, one fell in the 2nd level, and the other was washed into the pool by the torrent of the 3rd level. Neither of them could pass all the levels. That's about it. Lu Chen was very satisfied and said to Manager Zhang, "The difficulty doesn't need to be adjusted, but the equipment must be maintained in place to ensure stable operation during the program recording. And the equipment for the next 3 levels must be made as soon as possible." "Don't worry," as the representative of the equipment manufacturer, Manager Zhang said with a smile, "there is no problem with the quality. Our drive and control motors are imported, and we can guarantee that there will be no delay." Although this business came suddenly, and their company had spent a lot of effort and paid a lot of price, they could also get rich profits, and there were long-term benefits. Once the program was successful, there would be more orders flying in. Would this program be successful? That's 100% certain, because there's Lu Chen's resounding signboard. He smiled and said, "Teacher Lu, don't you want to try it yourself? Give me more valuable experience." This Manager Zhang was actually just casually saying that. Most of it was just a joke, but Lu Chen's heart really moved after hearing it. He nodded and said, "That's fine too." Manager Zhang didn't expect that his suggestion would be accepted by Lu Chen. He was stunned for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. If Lu Chen went in person, the publicity effect would be great. Lu Chen was a man who did what he said. He asked his assistant to find a pair of shorts for him first, and then he went to the changing room to change. It was freezing outside, but the indoor swimming pool was air-conditioned, and there was a thermostatic swimming pool, so Lu Chen simply took off his shirt and went in directly bare-chested. As a result, as soon as he appeared, he immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially a few young girls present. They were even looking at him with stars in their eyes. If it weren't for the rules of the on-site work, I'm afraid that they would immediately take out their mobile phones to secretly take pictures. Lu Chen was a star artist with both strength and idol. He was tall, handsome, and had a sunny and healthy appearance, but he rarely showed his body like today. He was not a muscular man, but he had a well-proportioned body, a wide back, a narrow waist, and smooth abdominal muscles. He gave people the feeling that he contained infinite power. In terms of temperament, he completely crushed the little fresh meats that filled the entertainment circle. The 2 cameras arranged on the scene were aimed at Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen stood at the starting point, warmed up his hands and feet for 2 minutes, and then, under everyone's gaze, rushed to the first pontoon bridge. His speed was as fast as a hunting leopard, extremely fast and vigorous. The swimming pool was silent, and the camera's lens firmly followed the figure of Lu Chen's fast running, faithfully recording all his movements on the hard disk. Chapter 790. Beijing, Changxi Road, Shoe Flavor Hot Pot Restaurant. Food was the most important thing to the people. Most Chinese people were foodies, so the domestic food industry was particularly developed. It was unparalleled in the world. As long as there was a restaurant with a little specialty, whether it was a big restaurant or a small restaurant, there would always be a lot of customers. In recent years, the most special hot pot in Shanxing had become popular all over the country. Many hot pot restaurants with Sichuan characteristics had opened in the capital, and their business was also booming. Although Sichuan hot pot was very different from the beef and mutton hot pot that northerners often ate, people from all over the country gathered in the capital, plus tens of millions of tourists every year, so there was no lack of customers. Moreover, spicy hot pot was poisonous. Once you liked it, you would be poisoned and want to eat it every few days. The Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant chain had been in the capital for only half a year, and it had already opened 3 branches. There were so many customers that there was basically no free time, especially since the beginning of winter. If customers arrived late, there would be no seats at all and they could only wait in the lounge outside. Today was the Lunar New Year. The temperature in the capital had dropped sharply a few days ago, and it had snowed several times in a row. It was so cold that even a drop of water would turn into ice. At this time, it was really a good time to call 3 to 5 friends to sit in front of the hot pot and eat spicy hot pot. Although it was already past 8:00 in the evening, the Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant chain on Changshi Road was still booming. The hall was full, and there were even people waiting in the lounge to get a number. They were ready to eat dinner and supper together. In the hall that was filled with the strong smell of hot pot, Meng Hu carried a hot kettle in one hand and a tray full of dishes in the other. He quickly and flexibly passed between the tables and delivered the food to the waiting customers. After delivering the orders, he could finally sit in the staff room to take a breather and fill his already rumbling stomach. The normal staff meal was around 4:00 in the afternoon, but Meng Hu was able to work and eat, so an extra meal was necessary. Although the extra meal in the evening was very simple, a big bowl of rice and mixed meat soup, Meng Hu was already very satisfied. Because the food and accommodation in the hot pot restaurant were free, he could basically save the money he earned. Meng Hu and a few of his classmates had been in Beijing for almost 2 weeks. Their luck was pretty good. Due to a large number of migrant workers leaving Beijing to celebrate the New Year, various service industries were in urgent need of temporary workers, so they quickly found a job. Including Meng Hu, there were 5 students from Hanyang Martial Arts School. Some were waiters, some were couriers, and some were delivery boys. Even though they were temporary workers, their wages were not low. This was especially the case for delivery. The more deliveries, the more money they would earn. The salary would be doubled during the Chinese New Year. It was very tempting, but Meng Hu considered that he was completely unfamiliar with Beijing and did not have a good sense of direction, so he chose to be a waiter. This job wasn't bad. Not to mention that food and lodging were provided, he could earn at least 200 yuan a day with double hourly pay. He could live in Beijing for a month and still have 5,000 to 6,000 yuan to send back home. He was already very satisfied. Tiger, Meng Hu had just finished the last mouthful of meat soup mixed with rice in his bowl when the door to the staff room was pushed open. Li Dongyang jumped in with a sneaky smile on his face. "I knew you were hiding here to eat alone." Meng Hu couldn't help but roll his eyes. What? Li Dongyang also worked at the Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant. According to him, brothers must be together so that they could take care of each other. However, he chose to help in the kitchen, saying that he wanted to secretly learn some skills. Maybe he could open his own hot pot restaurant in the future. In terms of quick-wittedness, Meng Hu was definitely not as smart as Li Dongyang. Li Dongyang presented his phone as if he was presenting a treasure. "Let me show you something good." Meng Hu's eyelids suddenly twitched. He instinctively looked around, then lowered his voice and said, "You're crazy. You're watching this during working hours. Aren't you afraid of being caught and fired?" The Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant had good treatment, but the rules were very strict. Even temporary workers were no exception. Li Dongyang snickered and said, "What are you thinking? Do you think I'm going to show you a porn video? If you want to see it, then I'll download it for you when I go back to the dormitory tonight." Seeing that Meng Hu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, he chuckled and said, "I'm not joking. You'll know when you see it." Meng Hu was very distrustful of Li Dongyang's character, but he still took the phone suspiciously. As a result, he really wronged his good friend this time. What Li Dongyang showed him was not an indescribable love action film, but a video in the latest blog of Chen Fei Media. Meng Hu gave up going home for the new year and came to the capital. The main purpose was not to work and make money, but to participate in the talent show, the 8 Storms Meet in the capital, that would be held after the new year, so he was very sensitive to this news. He and Li Dongyang both registered the account of Wave's blog, and followed Lu Qin, Chen Fei Media, and even the blogs of Central Television. At the same time, they saved several related forums so that they could get first-hand information. Recently, for the actor talent show of the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, the official blog of Chin Fei Media frequently released news to maintain attention, but there was not much useful content. But the video that was released tonight was absolutely the real thing. It was impressively the test process of the audition, and Lu Chen personally went to the test. It was completely leaked by the official. It was really useful. Meng Hu's attention was immediately attracted. He stared at the screen without blinking, for fear of missing the details of every frame. Although he got the qualification to participate in the official audition, Meng Hu still knew nothing about the show. He only knew that he had to pass 7 stages, but he was completely unclear about what the 7 stages were. Now that the official video was released, if he did not take the opportunity to study it carefully, it would be equivalent to giving up the opportunity. After watching the 17-minute video, Meng Hu was lost in thought. Li Dongyang was a little uneasy and asked, "Tiger, how do you feel? Can we do it?" "Of course we can." Meng Hu clenched his fist and said, "I can definitely pass these 4 stages. But," he whispered again, "I'm afraid I can't be as fast as Lu Chen." The 19-year-old boy was a little depressed, because in the video, Lu Chen's skills and reflexes were amazing. He was not a layman, and he deeply understood the meaning of it. Li Dongyang laughed, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Who asked you to compare with Lu Chen? Is he someone we can compare with? We just need to be faster and better than other contestants." Meng Hu nodded. But in this young man's heart, he regarded Lu Chen as his goal to chase after. He wanted to be as fast and strong as Lu Chen. Chapter 791. The video released by Chinfei Media on the eve of the Lunar New Year's Eve caused a heated response on the internet as expected. People like Meng Hu and Li Dongyang, who had already qualified for the audition, were naturally the most concerned about the content of the information revealed in the video. Although they could only see the settings of the first 4 stages, they were now more confident than before when they were completely in the dark. Knowing the rules of the competition, seeing the operation of the equipment, coupled with the demonstrations of many people in the video, as long as they were not stupid, they could figure out a set of experience that suited them. However, Meng Hu and Li Dongyang were only a small group of people who entered the audition. Most of the netizens and fans were completely focused on different things. "Wow, is this the New Year's benefit? TSK, Lu Chen's body is really unparalleled. It beats a bunch of little fresh meats in seconds. Don't compare little fresh meats to my Chen. It's an insult. This game is quite fun. I want to try it too. Where is this? Isn't it cold? My Chen is so handsome." Sigh, he could have made a living with his strength, but he chose to show off his body. He's crazy. I love it. Countless fans, especially female fans, reposted the video. They covered their faces and screamed with all kinds of love emojis. They loved him to death. Speaking of which, Lu Chen had announced his relationship with Chen Fei a long time ago. Their relationship had always been sweet and stable, and they were regarded as the best couple in the entertainment industry. However, Lu Chen's fans, especially female fans, were also growing. This was actually not logical. When Lu Chen first debuted, he was regarded as more of an idol star. When an idol male star had a girlfriend, it would naturally disillusion many female fans, and they would often lose a lot of fans. Therefore, many artists did not easily disclose their relationships, or simply remained single. However, looking back at Lu Chen's road to fame over the past 3 years, it was normal for such a situation to occur. He did not rely on his looks, but his strength and talent to attract fans. In recent years, Lu Chen had continuously produced good works. The trilogy of urban romance had earned him a lot of popularity. Although he lost some fans when his relationship was first disclosed, the increase later on was too crazy. In fact, after many female fans had stopped being his fans, they would join him again and become true hardcore fans. They were undoubtedly Lu Chen's staunchest supporters. After accepting Lu Chen's relationship, their admiration for him increased. In their eyes, the video released by Chinfei Media could be called welfare. There were all kinds of praises, laughter, and ridicule, which made the blog lively. When ordinary passers-by saw this, they could only sigh deeply at Lu Chen's popularity. Just by showing off his figure, he was able to climb to the top of the trending list. It was an embarrassment to those in the industry who had spent so much effort to buy fans and popularity to gain their position. In contrast, the male fans were much more rational. Except for a few guys with special sexual orientations, no one pointed at Lu Chen's muscles. Everyone was once again shocked by Lu Chen's extraordinary skills. At the beginning of the video was Li Xiaoguang's test. In everyone's eyes, his performance was already extremely outstanding. Not only did he successfully pass 4 stages, but he also responded with ease and speed. It was almost impeccable. However, compared to Lu Chen, he was more than a level behind. Lu Chen was stronger and faster than him. According to the time at the scene, Li Xiaoguang took 5 minutes and 27 seconds to pass the 4 stages, while Lu Chen took 2 minutes and 22 seconds, less than half. In addition to the contestants who were going to participate in the audition, netizens, and fans, many television stations and people in the leisure and entertainment industry also had a strong interest in this video. What they were concerned about was naturally this very interesting challenge plan. It could totally be imported as a separate program or entertainment project to be produced. The most important thing was that once it was on CCTV, it would definitely become popular all over the country. Even if they registered the copyright and paid a high price to buy the authorization, it would still be a profitable business. So, many people rushed to contact Xinfei Media, wanting to follow and get some benefits. Even a few people with connections directly found Lu Chen in a roundabout way. However, Lu Chen was no longer in Beijing. The day after he completed the first test of the equipment in the swimming complex, he flew to Hangzhou with Xinfei, and will spend Valentine's Day in Hangzhou. Of course, the two didn't go to Hangzhou specifically to spend Valentine's Day, but Happy Entertainment's new game was about to be released. Happy Digital Interactive Entertainment Company, Limited, or Happy Entertainment for short, mainly operates online games and mobile games-related projects and businesses. It was a game company opened by Lu Chen and Gao He. Lu Chen invested tens of millions of yuan in Happy Entertainment and owned 90% of the shares. The first project produced by Happy Entertainment, Happy Farm, was a great success, creating a craze for stealing vegetables. In the end, the game was sold to QQ Games together with Happy Network at a high price of 575 million yuan. Although the craze for Happy Farm has subsided a lot, Happy Entertainment, the newborn calf, has also made a big name in the industry. Lu Chen's initial investment has returned dozens of times, and he continued to increase his investment, intending to make Happy Entertainment an important part of his wuxia IP plan. At present, the online game/mobile version of Happy Entertainment's flagship, The Smiling, Proud World, is being produced, and at the same time, the production and internal testing of the new mobile game, Plants vs. Zombies, has been completed. The idea of this mobile game was naturally provided by Lu Chen, from the memory of the dream world. In fact, after selling Happy Farm, Lu Chen gave Gao He a total of 5 mobile game ideas and project ideas. In addition to Plants vs. Zombies, Happy Entertainment also launched Fruit Ninja at the end of last year. Although it was not as successful as Happy Farm, it also caused a new mobile game craze. For the current mobile game industry, technology has never been difficult, creativity is the most important, and Lu Chen's continuous creative ideas ensure that Happy Entertainment can stand at the top of the industry. When Lu Chen saw Gao He again, it was at the new headquarters of Happy Entertainment. After the sale of Happy Farm, Lu Chen directly bought an office building in the new Binjiang IT Industrial Park in Hangzhou as the company's new headquarters. It's just that he gave full control of Happy Entertainment to Gao He and his wife, and he was busy with his own business. Today is the first time he came to the company's new headquarters. It's also a shame to say that as the actual owner of Happy Entertainment, Lu Chen usually pays little attention to the company, and at most, he only talks to Gao He on the phone. Gao He also has complaints, so this time when the new game, Plants vs. Zombies, was released, he brought Xinfei along to do his duty. Chapter 792. They haven't seen each other for more than half a year. Gao He's dress and temperament have changed significantly. If he used to be a technical otaku, then now he has the style of an industry elite and is much more confident. This is actually normal. After all, he is in charge of a game company with a total investment of hundreds of millions of yuan, more than 100 employees, and a well-known game company in the industry. But what hasn't changed is the friendship between him and Lu Chen. Old San, you should come to the company more often when you have time. In the VIP room of the company's new office building, Gao He joked, let's not talk about anything else. Let the employees see our big star chairman, and their morale will increase by 200%. Lu Chen smiled and said, aren't I here now? I bought a house in Hangzhou, and I will definitely come back often in the future. Gao He didn't believe it. You try to fool me. How many phone calls did I make this time to invite you over? Don't forget, happy entertainment is yours. Lu Chen was ashamed. The company's affairs all depend on you. I really can't handle it, so I can only rely on you. Gao He smiled and said, you can treat me like a cow or a horse. I owe you too. Xiaoling said that we owe you a favor that we can't repay in our lifetime. All we can do is to do happy entertainment well. The first part was a joke, but the latter part was absolutely sincere. At the time of graduation, Gao He and Wang Xiaoling faced a painful choice. Although they stuck to their love, they also endured the ruthless test of reality. If it weren't for Lu Chen's timely help and the establishment of happy entertainment, it would be difficult to say whether the love between the two would blossom and bear fruit now. Maybe they would have parted ways under the pressure of reality. There are really too many similar things. Lu Chen shook his head, we are brothers. Let's not talk about this. Do Old K and Old C have any contact with you? Gao He said, Old K immigrated to the United States. I basically have no contact with him, and I don't know any news about him. I sent him several messages, but he didn't reply. Old C is doing well in Fading, but he has little contact with him. On the other hand, our class monitor Chow often asks you on QQ about when you will organize a class reunion. Life was like floating duckweed. After graduation, everyone went their separate ways. Everyone had their own opportunities and lives. Some people could become lifelong friends, while others would unknowingly lose contact. It's rare to reunite, and the topic between Lu Chen and Gao He can't help but turn to the memories of the past. There were always beautiful things that were worth reminiscing about. While the two of them were chatting, Wang Xiaoling was accompanying Chen Feier to play mobile games. The game they were playing was Happy Entertainment's upcoming Plants vs. Zombies. This strategy game was Happy Entertainment's first release, taking over half a year of painstaking work to complete. The quality of the game was without a doubt outstanding. Under Wang Xiaoling's guidance, Chen Feier quickly mastered the technique and was having a lot of fun. The biggest feature of this strategy game is that it's easy to get started, and it's very playable and addictive. The content of the game is actually very simple. Players can quickly and effectively block zombies on the road of invasion by arming a variety of plants to switch different functions and eliminate them. With the quality and creativity of the game, promotion naturally becomes the top priority. Although good wine is not afraid of deep alleys, clever marketing is a multiplier of benefits, and it can achieve the effect of moving 1,000 pounds with little effort. And this time, the responsibility of publicity still fell on Chen Feier. Last time, Happy Farm could become popular quickly, Chen Feier's blog post contributed a lot. Her number of fans on Wave's blog is second only to Lu Chen, and her influence is great. Now it's nothing more than the same trick. Chen Feier rarely uses blogs to do product marketing, but her own things are definitely an exception. After inspecting the company's new headquarters and encouraging the employees who worked overtime for the new year, Gao He and his wife treated them to dinner in the evening. After the reunion, Lu Chen and Chen Feier lived in their own home in Hangzhou. The new house in Hangzhou has been bought for a while, but the two spent most of their time in Beijing. They really didn't spend much time living here. However, before coming over, they had asked their assistant to hire someone to clean it up, so it was very clean. After taking a shower, Chen Feier leaned lazily in Lu Chen's arms. She mischievously drew circles on Lu Chen's chest with her fingers and asked, "It will be Valentine's Day in a few days. How are you going to spend it?" Lu Chen frowned. "I don't know. Shopping, eating, watching movies," Chen Feier said, "old-fashioned." Lu Chen smiled and turned over to press her under his body. "Then let's think about it while doing it." Chen Feier giggled and reached out to hug his neck. "You're so annoying." In the bedroom, there was a spring scene. February 12th, 2 days before Valentine's Day. Happy Entertainment released the mobile puzzle game Plants vs. Zombies version 1.0 on different mobile platforms. On that day, the single-player game surpassed 3 million downloads, causing quite a stir in the industry. The competition in the mobile game market was extremely intense. Big and small mobile game companies or companies that developed mobile games were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. The entire market had become a sea of blood. The more games there were, the more options the players had to choose from. The industry was now moving towards large-scale MMOs, and Plants vs. Zombies as a single-player game would be very difficult to compete with. However, the game quickly became a success and gained a good reputation in the market. First of all, Happy Entertainment had 2 successful games, Happy Farm and Fruit Ninja. In particular, Fruit Ninja had more than 50 million downloads, so Plants vs. Zombies stood at a very high starting point. Most importantly, Plants vs. Zombies was a very fun game. It was a great way to kill time on mobile. It was very creative and fun, and the characters were cute enough. It was very easy for users who didn't like or didn't have the time to play online games. And with Chen Feier's marketing for the game, it quickly gained a large number of fans. Since Plants vs. Zombies was a free game, and it was released before Valentine's Day, some fans asked if it was a Valentine's Day gift from Lu Chen and Chen Feier. That was definitely not the case. Lu Chen and Chen Feier's real Valentine's Day gift to their fans were 2 songs. One song from Lu Chen and one song from Chen Feier, and they were for the single people. Chapter 793. Hangzhou, Baidi. After nightfall, Westlake had a completely different view than during the day. A waning moon hung high in the sky, and specks of starlight decorated the night sky. Compared with the scenery of lakes, mountains, and thousands of lights in the world, it was dazzling. Today was the 29th of the Lunar New Year, so there shouldn't be many tourists on the Baidi. However, the broken bridge was bustling with people, and there were couples everywhere. Because today was also Valentine's Day, many couples came here to take a walk, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the romantic time that belonged to 2 people, or sit by the lake or under the willow trees and whisper to each other. The air was filled with a sweet atmosphere. Lu Chen and Chen Feier walked in the crowd hand in hand. Both of them were wearing masks, and Chen Feier also added a knitted wool hat, so they didn't have to worry about being recognized. The most important thing was that the people around them were most concerned about the couple around them at this moment, and they wouldn't notice the existence of 2 big stars among them. Chen Feier's eyes were curved, and she held Lu Chen's hand and jumped a few times from time to time, as if she was a little girl who had just been immersed in love, exuding joy and happiness from the inside out. This was the 3rd Valentine's Day they had spent together. On this special day, they recalled their encounter, acquaintance, and love together. They felt that this was the greatest happiness in life. This handsome guy. As soon as they crossed the broken bridge, a little girl with a large bouquet of roses in her arms suddenly came out of the crowd and blocked their way. She looked up at Lu Chen and said, "Today is Valentine's Day. Your girlfriend is so beautiful, why don't you buy her a bouquet of roses?" Her serious expression seemed to accuse Lu Chen of his heinous crimes. Chen Feier couldn't help but laugh. She knew that it was just a marketing trick, but she was still very happy. Lu Chen deliberately teased the little girl. "How do you know she's beautiful?" Chen Feier had covered herself up tightly, only showing her eyes and nose, so her real face couldn't be seen. The little girl said very seriously, "You are so handsome, this big sister must be a beauty with a handsome guy." Even Lu Chen was amused. How much do you sell your flowers for? Looking at the cute girl in front of him, Lu Chen couldn't help but think of last year's Valentine's Day. Last Valentine's Day, he and Chen Fei had spent it in Xiangjiang. He remembered that at that time, they had also met a flower seller on the streets of Xiangjiang and bought a basket of roses. The little girl replied, 1 stick is 10 yuan, a bunch of 11 sticks is 100 yuan. At the same time, she blinked her big black eyes and looked at Lu Chen with anticipation. Chen Fei was a little more cautious and asked, little girl, aren't your parents worried about you selling flowers alone? The little girl turned her head and pointed to a couple pushing a flower cart by the side of the broken bridge. They're over there, Lu Chen smiled and said, take us there. I'll buy more. It was freezing outside, and it was the 29th day of the Lunar New Year. A family coming to the broken bridge to sell flowers was undoubtedly to make a living. Seeing that the little girl's face was red from the cold, he couldn't help but feel pity for her. Okay. The little girl knew that she had caught a big business, so she agreed crisply. The flower cart was a tricycle. There were 4 or 5 plastic buckets on the board, all of which were bunches of packaged roses. The couple were selling enthusiastically, but business was not very good. Mom, this brother said he wants to buy a lot of roses. The little girl selling flowers came over with Lu Chen and shouted happily. The middle-aged man was surprised and quickly asked, hello, how many roses do you need? If there are a lot, we can give you a discount and free packaging. Lu Chen asked, how many roses do you have here? How many? The middle-aged man looked at the roses in the cart awkwardly, and then counted the roses in his daughter's hand. He was stunned. His wife reacted quickly, more than 500, less than 600, about 570 or 80. Lu Chen nodded, I want all of them. How much is it? All of them? The couple suddenly showed a look of surprise. They had met the legendary local tyrant. The middle-aged man said, if you want all of them, you can give me 5,000. When he said this number, he was uneasy. After all, the purchase price was less than 1/3. Lu Chen said with a smile, 5,000 is fine. Can I use QQ transfer? He didn't have so much cash on him, but it was very common to use mobile phone to pay now. Even the tea eggs had a payment QR code. Therefore, there was no problem with QQ transfer. Lu Chen took a rose and said to the couple, I want this one. You can help me give away the rest here. When they heard Lu Chen say, I want this one, the couple were dumbfounded. They thought they had been fooled, and then they were dumbfounded, give them all away? It wasn't until Lu Chen transferred 5,000 yuan with his mobile phone that they woke up from a dream. Knowing that Lu Chen wasn't joking, they quickly agreed. Lu Chen handed the rose in his hand to Chen Fei, and said with a smile, Happy Valentine's Day, dear. Chen Fei, smiled sweetly and took the rose. Her eyes were full of emotion. The crowd quickly gathered around, not because they found out the identity of the two, but because the free rose distribution began. All the couples who passed the broken bridge received a flower symbolizing love. There was a lingering fragrance in the hand of giving roses. Lu Chen pulled Chen Fei, and quietly withdrew from the crowded crowd with happiness. The Mercedes-Benz driven by Zhang Xiaofang was waiting by the broken bridge. After they got in the car, they went straight to Hangzhou Airport. Tomorrow was New Year's Eve. Because Lu Chen and Chen Fei were going to participate in the Spring Festival Gala, they booked a ticket to return to Beijing tonight. Now the time was just right. On the way to the airport, Zhang Xiaofang turned on the car radio. Welcome to FM 103. 7 City Voice Radio. Today is Valentine's Day, well, a very special day. The host's soft voice, accompanied by soft music, spread in the car. Here, I wish all couples can love each other for a lifetime. In addition, I also want to give 2 Valentine's Day songs to all the listeners who are still single, including myself. First is Single Love Song from Lu Chen. Lu Chen and Chen Fei couldn't help but look at each other and smile. Chen Fei gently leaned her head on Lu Chen's shoulder. I who can't hold on to love, always watch it slip away. There are happy people everywhere in the world, why can't I be one of them? For the sake of love, I have long suffered enough of the pain of love. There are people who are lost in love everywhere. Love, the more frustrated you are, the stronger you become. Love, you must be persistent. Every single person must see through it. If you want to love, don't be afraid of pain. Note, single love song, lyricist, Jiafu/composer, Chen Yaochuan. Chapter 794. The new Mercedes-Benz worth $2.7 million has excellent sound insulation. There is almost no noise when driving on the road. The standard car stereo is even more high-end, accurately restoring the digital music played by the FM radio station. Find a dear person you love the most, love deeply, and want to love, to say goodbye to being single. A passionate, infatuated, heartless, and ruthless person, to give me scars. There are so many sad people. This single love song was recorded by Lu Chen in the recording studio of Chenfei Media headquarters a few days ago. It was first released on Wave's blog last night. It was a new song customized for Valentine's Day, for all fans who were still single on Valentine's Day. Although Lu Chen has long since got rid of his singleness, and has a heavenly queen girlfriend and sweet love that everyone envies, but for this special work, he still poured considerable emotion into it and sang the style of the work. Rich but not dignified, smooth but not mediocre, pleasant but not seeking credit, this song truly sang the pursuit and desire of those single people for love. It was both tender and delicate, and wild and unrestrained. The style of the song leaned towards rock and roll, which easily resonated with the audience. This song, Single Love Song, also shows Lu Chen's singing skills incisively and vividly. To a certain extent, it is also his dazzling work, especially the interpretation of the climax of the song, which makes people's hearts tremble when they listen to it. Especially on a day like Valentine's Day, hearing such a song, whether it was unloved, in love, or in love, everyone would have their own feelings. It was worth mentioning that as a special new song for Valentine's Day, the studio version of Single Love Song, released by Lu Chen on his blog, broke through 1 million downloads in just 2 hours, and now it has reached more than 5 million. The praise was overwhelming. Because it was a genuine free download, the speed of dissemination was naturally extremely fast. It was normal to hear this song on Hangzhou's radio station. This is Single Love Song, from Lu Chen. I hope everyone likes it. I'm Su Jia, the host of FM 103.7 City Voice Radio Music accompany you. I'm here to accompany all the single people to celebrate this Valentine's Day. I hope you can find your true love in the new year. Alright, the next song, is also very special. This song is also Lu Chen's new work, but it's not sung by him. It's his. The host of the radio station kept everyone in suspense, but he quickly revealed the mystery. I think everyone should know or have guessed it. The second song was written and composed by Lu Chen and sung by Chen Feier. It's Valentine's Day without a lover, hee hee. The hostess with a soft and beautiful voice smiled happily. A single love song and a Valentine's Day without a lover. Don't you think that the Valentine's Day gifts given to us by this pop music superstar couple are very special? Of course, some people will say that this is rubbing salt in our wounds. Don't cry, I'm here with you. Hearing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He said to Chen Fei, this guy is interesting. Chen Fei, tilted his head and pondered, Su Jia? I think I've heard this name before. The music started. Valentine's Day without a lover, there will be a feeling of loneliness, for the person you love doesn't understand, and the longing is still in your heart. Valentine's Day without a lover, unexpectedly receiving a card of comfort. I think the heart that loved has found out. Happy Valentine's Day, Happy Valentine's Day. I only hear sad music. Compared with Lu Chen's Single Love Song, this Valentine's Day without a lover had a very different style. It was a graceful memory with a touch of sadness, and through the interpretation of Chen Fei's angelic voice, it seemed to sing into the depths of people's souls. Lu Chen gently held Chen Fei's in his arms and quietly listened to the song, unaware of the passage of time. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, another year was about to pass. On the night of Chinese New Year's Eve, hundreds of millions of people, including overseas Chinese, had a sumptuous New Year's Eve dinner and set off fireworks and firecrackers. Then, they stayed in front of their TVs or computers to watch the live broadcast of the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog. The bright moon shines above the sea, and we share this moment together. Ever since the Spring Festival Gala appeared on the screens of Central TV, this large-scale variety gala had become an indispensable New Year's Eve meal for the Chinese people, and it was known as the New Year's custom. After watching the Spring Festival Gala, the year was finally over. After New Year's Eve was the first day of the Lunar New Year. After tasting the feast of the Spring Festival Gala, everyone naturally had to comment on it. Whether it was good or bad, it had become a tradition today. Among them, the most active were naturally the various media outlets. Just after New Year's Eve, topics related to the Spring Festival Gala were everywhere. Some discussed the programs, some commented on the celebrities, and some discussed the rankings, but the most important thing was the audience's reputation. In recent years, the ratings and reputation of the Spring Festival Gala had been deteriorating. Although its status as the top gala was unshakable, the criticism from the media and the audience was endless, and it even became more and more intense. Commercial advertisements, lip-syncing, corporate New Year's greetings, the host's insincere smile, and some of the language programs that were not clever and funny, and so on, had become a part of the vulgarization of the Spring Festival Gala. In particular, the language programs lacked innovation and plagiarized a large number of online jokes, which made the young audience tired of the aesthetic. All kinds of complaints were made, and it was quite embarrassing. In fact, it was not only the language programs. Even the song programs were not much better. Although the invited celebrities were all big names, they were always singing old songs, and it was difficult for new works to stand out, which made it hard for the audience to be excited. What made the Spring Festival Gala go from New Year's vulgarity to new vulgarity? There might be more than one answer. Central TV was also facing great pressure, so they specially invited Chen Guoji for the Year of the Dog Spring Festival Gala. They tried to use this great director's experience and new perspective to reverse the situation. If the Spring Festival Gala was an extremely difficult test, then what kind of answer would Chen Guoji hand in? After Central TV announced the news last year, the media's attention was focused on him. Some people thought that Chen Guoji was looking for trouble. There was no need to get involved with a hot potato like the Spring Festival Gala. Some people also thought that Chen Guoji should be able to bring something new to the Spring Festival Gala. Perhaps there would be a surprise. After all, this great director was good at creating miracles, and his works often surprised people. But regardless of whether they were optimistic or not, what everyone hoped for was to be able to enjoy a gala that would make people feel happy and happy. And now that the audience's marking was over and the results were announced, whether Chen Guoji would be able to keep his reputation or not would depend on the media's headlines today. Note, Valentine's Day Without a Lover lyrics, Huang Yixiong/composer, Lu Zhenhuang. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.